I will need to explain something. I asked this question a while back. Your name is Emmanuel.
Yes.
There are mistakes you have done.
Yes.
Your name is Joseph Ann.
Yes.
There are mistakes you have done. My name is CW. There are mistakes I've done. Was I born to do mistakes?
No.
When my parents were giving birth to me, you notice the parents were like, oh,
Yeah.
oh
This
baby.
beautiful baby boy.
So
And you don't know 23 years later he's a murderer.
Yes.
I know, yeah.
But did they give birth to a murderer?
No.
Or you became a murderer when you took the choice?
One
You became a murderer when you
Yes.
took the choice. So those of you that are saying, oh, this was not a president, the Kenyan president was not a president by God, you need to read the Bible. He sets kings and he dethrones them. Forget just about setting. He dethrones kings. So God can set a king. So I don't even know why you are saying that church should leave politics. Yet God is the one that sets presidents.
Yeah.
God, our role model is God, and he's the one that is setting presidents and removing them. In that particular view, the Kenyan president was not a wrong president, but just like many presidents in the Bible, actually, if you read there, it says he changes times and seasons. He sets up kings and deposes them. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to the discerning. You notice, first of all, when there is a season, so this is how the structure looks like. Just like in 202, you remember there was a season where people wanted change forcefully?
Yes.
You notice the same thing repeated itself in 2022.
Yes.
So that's the season. If you notice, that's how it starts. Times and season. Then after the season and the time is right, time and season, the second thing there is he gives kings. And then in that time and season, he puts one and dethrones one. Kenya's time is 5 years. US time is
4 years.
4 years.
Yes, yeah.
The season is right. Then after he does that, once he has put a king, the king must go for the third thing. I don't know if you'll understand. He will go for what you call, he gives wisdom. To set a king doesn't mean you're wise.
Yeah.
To be a president doesn't mean you're wise. It's one thing to be a president.
Yes.
It's another thing to receive wisdom to keep presidency.
Yes.
And so where we failed in Kenya is that God gave a president, but the leaders forgot to go to God for wisdom. So they received from God, but they forgot to go to God to keep it. It's one thing to receive something, it's another thing to keep something. Think about a car when you're going to take it you receive a car from the showroom. You notice they tell you after every 5,000 kilometers or so, the car requires service. So yes, you can receive a car, but the car can begin to malfunction because you have refused to service the car. So wisdom is how a king services his heart. And when a king is in authority and lacks wisdom, the damages of that king will begin to be seen. So just like our king in Kenya, it was not possible for God not to be involved. It was not possible. Believe me, I did a lot of work. And that's why I thank God. We never did it to be paid.
Yeah.
That's why I say it openly. If there is any man from that system that gave me a shilling, shout now. Because we never wanted, God told us to go in to support, but not to go in to eat. We never went with an agenda. We just went because we wanted a man that can hear the voice of God. But you see, unfortunately, the man forgot to receive wisdom from God to run a nation. And you know, when there is no wisdom, you can see the nation.
Yes.
It shows in the affiliations of the nation. It shows by who you affiliate with, nations you affiliate with, fights you choose to fight, how the economy looks like, how the people are mourning because
Treaties
the
you
Bible
get
says
into.
it.
Yeah.
All those treaties, it shows that there was no wisdom. But there was a king, but the king did not go for wisdom. So this is the same thing that has happened to the US. There is a king, but I would advise that king. Now that you have become a king, there is something superior to a king. It's called wisdom. Wisdom. My advice to President Trump, seek for wisdom. Now you are seeking for kingship.
Yeah.
You have now become. So the question is, what next?
What's
next?
Don't be like us, America. We have seen that it's possible to have a man from God,
Yes.
and again it's possible to have a nation crying. So every king must understand the difference between wisdom and kingship. And let me prove it. Do you remember Solomon?
Yeah.
You remember Solomon?
Yes.
Solomon came into power after the reign of his father, whose name was
David.
David. Now, do you realize he was a king before he received wisdom? So you first become a king
Yeah.
before you receive wisdom. Let me show you the truth. So after a while, God comes to him. Just like God came to many presidents, but many reject him because of their political affiliation. They think they are powerful because they now have 200 members in parliament on their side. That doesn't make you powerful.
Yeah.
Wisdom is what makes a man powerful. And the Bible says, does any man lack it? Wisdom is for all, but not everyone will receive it. Wisdom is for all. Does any man lack wisdom? Let him ask, and only one person gives it.
God.
God is the only one that gives wisdom. So if you are going to be a king and you reject God, what you have done is that you have rejected wisdom. Now, Solomon, after becoming a king, he's already a king. But do you notice when God comes to him, he says, give me wisdom. Look at that. Actually, the Bible says, God at Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon. The Lord that made him king already during the night in a dream. And God said, ask whatever that you want me to give you. A king must understand you don't ask for a good economy first. You don't ask to make money. You ask for the most important thing to a king, which is what?
Wisdom.
Now look at verse 6. Solomon answered, you have shown great kindness to your servant. What does that mean? You have made me king. That's what it means. For you to be king, God is the one that shows you kindness. Which is servant David, my father David. Because he was faithful to you and righteous and upright in heart. Notice those three things: faithful, righteous and upright in heart. That word upright means he sought the will of God more than the will of his nation. You have continued this great kindness to him and have given him a son to sit on his throne this very day. So he's already a king and he's seated. But you can be a seated king without wisdom. Let me prove it. Put verse 7. Now, Lord my God, you have made your servant king. Do you remember the verse you have read before?
Yes.
He sets his time and season.
Yes.
Then the second layer is kings.
Kings.
He puts them and he removes them.
Yes.
And then the third layer is what? He gives them
Wisdom.
wisdom and knowledge. You see that?
Yeah.
Oh Lord my God, you have made your servant king instead of my father David, but I am a little child. Stop there. So you can have beards, but you are a little child.
Yes.
What makes a person a child? An heir, as long as he's a servant, as long as he lacks wisdom,
Yes.
he differs not from a servant. I do not know how to go out or come in. This is a king. Unfortunately today, politicians won't say this because they are superstars from the beginning. They know everything. They don't want to be seen crying before God and seeking God's wisdom. Look at verse 8. Look at verse 8. What does it say? And your servant is in the midst of your people whom you have chosen. So God is the one that chose. A great people, too numerous to be numbered or counted. Verse 9. Therefore, give your servant an understanding heart. The word interpreted there is wisdom. So what is wisdom? A heart that can understand. A heart that can understand people. A heart that can understand politics. A heart that can understand economy. A heart that can understand love. A heart that can understand structures. A heart that can understand governance.
Oh, yeah.
Give me a heart of understanding to judge. A heart that can understand. That word judge is the word governance. To judge your people. But this person is first a king. So God first makes you a king, then secondly gives you wisdom. So many people in Africa and many kings in the world, they become kings and they forgot there's something superior to being a king, which is what? You go for wisdom. And this is where our president in Kenya failed. They had the same way, that's what the Bible says, those that seek me. The same way you sought to be a president, you seek to be wise.
Yeah.
You see, I run businesses, I run ministry, I run all those things. I can tell you the amount of wisdom. What it took me to start, it will take me more to keep.
Wow.
Let me repeat my statement. It was very easy for me to start. And I don't say easy as in easy. I'm talking about easy compared to running it. I'm not saying it will be any easier.
Yeah.
When I look at what it takes for me to keep these structures going, we have a school, we have foundations, we have businesses, we have the ministry. I mean, the structure, you have now church and the state to run this program. There are so many things they can't see. Background, food, shelter. We are thinking about so many things for the people. Attire, studio, lighting, like everything that it takes to run something is bigger than what it takes to make something.
Wow.
So what it takes to make you a president is superior, is less, than what it takes to keep you.
A president.
So to make you a president, it's
Much
kindness. That's what the Bible is saying. Kindness makes you a president. Wisdom keeps you a president. Kindness makes you, God is kind to you, so he makes you a deputy president. Wisdom is what will keep you a deputy president. So even when you want to say, there are people in the Bible, Jesus said, go show yourself. And then there are people Jesus told them, don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
So there are things as a leader you don't say I'm a truthful man. You have to have wisdom. You have to understand that you are not in a religious setup. You are in a political structure. You must play with wisdom. You don't lie. You don't lie. But remember, like Jesus, he told Daniel, he told John, seal up this book. He told Daniel, seal up. So just
Until
because
for the appointed
something is
time.
right
Yeah.
doesn't mean it should be said. And this is what I keep telling leaders. Please allow people to advise you. I was expecting that with this Kenyan government, since we helped it, and I can say it openly, I did a lot to help this nation in terms of the current situation. But I can tell you, equally speaking, they failed as much as they won. Because how did we do it? Now that I've become wiser, I understand, and that's why I don't want to speak about it equally to the American president, that we don't just rejoice because we made a king.
Yeah.
We rejoice more because we
have
kept
kept the
a
king.
king. The Bible says, I have fought a fight. I have kept
the faith.
So we didn't keep this leader in our hands. We didn't. And that's why you see the whole structure going to the nations.